Question: in what case is the accused not criminally liable even in the absence of any of the conditions for self-defense? Now remember, dito sa privilege mitigating circumstance at dito sa ordinary mitigating circumstance, liable. Kasi nga, it's an incomplete self-defense. Kapag incomplete self-defense, magiging liable ka pa rin. For example, pinatay mo yung tao, homicide. Kapag present ang isa out of 3, which is unlawful aggression lang, ordinary mitigating circumstance. Maka-avail ka under Article 13, Paragraph 1, pero liable ka pa rin. Kung present naman ang dalawa, 2 out of 3, liable ka pa rin sa homicide, pero the penalty will be lowered by 1 or 2 degrees. Pero liable ka pa rin. Now that is the effect of an incomplete self-defense. Now dito sa question natin, in what case is the accused not criminally liable even in the absence of any of the conditions for self-defense? So dito may kulang. Pero ang nakalagay sa question is, hindi ka criminally liable kahit may kulang. So anong case ba yon? The answer can be found under Republic Act 9262 or Anti-Violence Against Women and Their Children Act of 2004. And we are referring to the Battered Woman Syndrome. Now, under Section 26 of Republic Act 9262 or VAUSI, the Battered Woman Syndrome as a defense, nakalagay dito na, victim survivors who are found by the courts to be suffering from Battered Woman Syndrome do not incur criminal and civil liability. And eto na yung sagot natin, notwithstanding the absence of any of the elements of justifying circumstances. Now, meron tayong tinatawag na cycle of violence. There are 3 phases of cycle of violence. The first is tension-building phase. The second, acute battering incident. And the final phase is the tranquil, loving phase. Now, ano-ano ba itong mga phases na to? First is the tension-building phase. Dito, minor battering occurs. It could be verbal or slight physical abuse or another form of hostile behavior. So dito, nagsisimula sa maliit. Siguro sampal lang o konting sipa, konting suntok, pero not necessarily physical. Pwede ring verbal. Merong verbal abuse. A second phase, which is acute battering incident, is said to be characterized by brutality, destructiveness, and sometimes death. So kung sa number 1, medyo sample-sample lang, sa number 2, dito na yung todo-todo. So talagang ito na yung matinding bugbugan. Talagang the wife is mauled, beaten to a pulp, beaten black and blue. Talagang kawawa yung wife dito. And then sa number 3, the final stage which is tranquil, loving phase. From the word itself, loving, a period wherein the couple experience profound relief. So sa stage nito, na-realize ng husband yung ginawa niya, mag-a-apologize siya ngayon, magmamakaawa. You know yung usual lines, I'm sorry, I will not do it again. It was not me, I was just drunk, or I was just overcome by passion, and so on and so forth. You know, usual excuse or reasons. At dahil sa pagbibigyan siya ng asawa niya, babalik na naman sa another cycle of violence. Magre-repeat na naman yan. So, ang landmark case dito, kung saan diniscuss ng Supreme Court ang Battered Woman Syndrome ay sa case ng People versus Henosa. Ito yung issue doon, yung Battered Woman Syndrome. And dito sa landmark case na to, there are 3 important points na sinabi ng Supreme Court para maka-avail ng defense on the basis of Battered Woman Syndrome under RA 9262. So take note, hindi porket binugbog na yung asawa or subject na siya sa physical abuse, meron na kaagad battered woman syndrome. You have to comply with these requisites. Kailangang present itong mga requirements na to. Number 1, there must be at least 2 battering episodes. So pag sinabi nating battering episodes, ang tinutukoy niya dito ay yung acute battering incident. So naturally, nakaikot na siya. So nagsimula siya sa tension building phase, pumunta sa acute battering incident, so merong 1. Then, tranquil loving phase, and then bumalik siya sa tension building phase, and then pumunta ulit siya sa acute battering incident. So 2, there must be at least 2 battering incidents or episodes between the appellant and her intimate partner. Number 2, the final acute battering episode preceding the killing of the batterer must have produced in the battered person's mind an actual fear of an imminent harm. So ito na yung tinutukoy natin na imminent unlawful aggression. So yung final na acute battering episode, acute battering episode, dahil dito, nag-create siya sa mind ng wife o nung babae na mayroong danger sa life niya. At dahil doon, sa number 3, at the time of killing, the batterer must have posed probable, not necessarily immediate and actual, grave harm to the accused. Kung sa self-defense, merong actual at saka imminent, dito sa number 3, not necessarily immediate, diba? But merely probable. Kasi nga, sa isip ng babae, talagang praning na siya. Talagang sa pagkakaalam niya, meron ng danger sa life niya at saka sa limb niya. Takot na takot takot na siya. That is now the battered woman syndrome. For example, Juanito was married to Mariana. One afternoon, they quarreled over who was going to pick up their son. Feeling upset, Juanito went out, and when he returned late that night, he was drunk. He saw Mariana and grabbed her hair and threw her against the wall. Because of the impact, her head was bleeding. He punched her face and kicked her 5 times. Realizing what he had done, Juanito carried her and laid her on the bed while saying, "I'm sorry, my love. Forgive me. This will not happen again, I promise." Mariana could not move for an hour. When she got up, she took a knife and stabbed her sleeping husband to death. Question: can the woman or can the wife validly invoke self-defense on the basis of battered woman syndrome under Republic Act number 9262 or VAUSI? Was she suffering from battered woman syndrome in this case? The answer is no. Kasi if we go back to the landmark case of People versus Enosa, the number 1 requirement is there must be at least 2 battering episodes. So sa case ba na to, meron bang 2 battering episodes? There was none. There was only 1 battering episode, yung gabing yon. And the third requisite is that at the time of the killing, the batterer must have posed probable, not necessarily immediate and actual, grave harm to the accused. Kung titignan nyo yung case, natutulog na yung husband at doon niya sinaksak yung husband. Yung natutulog na yung husband, he was no longer posing any probable grave harm to the accused, pero pinatay niya pa rin. And since hindi na comply ang first at saka third requirement, walang battered woman syndrome dito. She was not suffering from battered woman syndrome and therefore walang self-defense.